My name is Kwabena Chenchehini. Many thanks for joining us here on News Today. To our very first story this afternoon, and the Ghana National Fire Service has begun investigations into circumstances leading to a fire outbreak at Bachuna Spintex Thursday evening. Now, the fire is said to have spread to other buildings after first raising down a warehouse of Kingdom Furniture. Beatrice Edu has been to the scene today and is joining me in studio now with a lot more on what she's gathered so far. So Beatrice, thank you very much for joining us. So what was the situation when you visited the site this morning?
When I got there, I could see that they had, in a way, put out the blaze, but there were still spots of fire in the workshop. They actually call it a factory because that's where they manufacture the wooden structures, as well as, I'm told, orthopedic mattresses and some other stuff. So there were lots of combustible materials in that particular workshop, quite a huge one. Almost 100% of all the things that were there got burnt. There was only just a small portion of that factory that had, some woods that were untouched by the fire. And like you rightly said, there were two-story buildings very close to the factory that were partially burnt. And so one of them had this glass louvers and stuff. All of them had broken, obviously, because of the intensity of the fire there. And yeah, basically that was what was there. When I got there, there was one fire tender, a couple of fire personnel, and some police personnel guarding the place with weapons.
Okay, so what did the fire service, for instance, say about investigations about incidents leading to this particular fire?
Well, what I was told by a representative from the Lekma Fire Office, that's Mr. Omane, Mr. Omane, he was saying that preliminary, what they've gathered is that it started from a portion where they keep the mattresses, but they are unable to pinpoint whether it was electrical fault or anything at all. So they've called in a number of investigators to come to the scene and try to get exactly what might have caused the fire. And let me also add that yesterday, when Latif was there earlier, we heard that there were a number of people who were there when the incident happened. Yeah. What it is that even though it's a factory, there's still a structure there that looks like a building, a house where people live in. And so the fire officer told me that there were about 4 expatriates who were in there. Fortunately, when the fire broke out, they were rescued. None was hurt.
Okay. Okay,
sure.
That's some good news there. But many thanks for that update. That was my colleague Beatrice Edu, who just returned from Spintex Bachuna, where there was that particular fire incident late yesterday. We'll be bringing you a lot more on this subsequently. But meanwhile, traders and shop owners in the Kumasi Central Market are counting their losses after another fire raised down several shops in the market. Now, the fire reportedly started at dawn and is said to have destroyed as many as 70 shops at the 31st December section of the market. Love FM's Erastus Asaridonko reports.
When many of the market women had gone home, and the cause of fire is not yet known, but there are people who are also developing working theories to the fact that the haphazard electrical wiring within that section of the market has contributed to this. But people who saw the fire start indicated that they started in a small container over there, and due to the combustible materials that they sell there, plastic bottles, plastic things, they have liquid soap in there. They also have other chemicals, cosmetics, and so it spread quickly. And there were live wires at that particular time. It took the ECG some time to be able to disconnect power to the market. So it spread quickly to other sectors of the market, destroying 70 shops so far. Now, many of the market women are the ones who are in tears right now, begging for government intervention because they claim at this economic juncture of the country, it will be difficult to set up again. If you recall, we are just coming out of another fire at the spare butter section, the yam section, the smoke stick section, which destroyed over 200 shops. They are now even rebuilding, and this one has come in addition to that. So it's raising questions about whether the fire service have been able to live up to their mandate of setting up a permanent fire post within the market to control and prevent some of these fires. Well, there are many who believe that the various interventions have failed. And indeed, if you ask, the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly is rather looking at the redevelopment, the central market, which is currently going on. The first stage is around 60% complete. And they believe that attention should be focused more on that structure than trying to institute measures to contain the situation at the old central market.
Let's talk politics now. And a defeated parliamentary aspirant of the ruling NDC and a party to a suit challenging the candidate of the NDC's Klote Korle parliamentary candidate has withdrawn from the case. Ni John Coleman, an incumbent MP for the Klote Korle constituency, Niyama Ashite, who both lost in the primary, filed a suit praying the court to prevent Dr. Zaneto Rawlings from holding herself out as parliamentary candidate-elect for the constituency on the ticket of the NDC. Now, they claim Dr. Zaneto Rawlings' election was unlawful because she is not a registered voter. Let's get more on this from Raymond Akwa, was in court earlier today and joins me in studio now with those details. So, Raymond, first and foremost, tell us about what happened in court today.
So, the very first motion which was taken, and the judge was surprised, so was even the plaintiff said, because Ni Coleman's main lawyer was also the same main lawyer for what they call it, Ni Amashite,
which is Gary Limako.
But yes, Gary was outside the court when Ni Coleman introduced a new lawyer to the court, that this new lawyer has a motion that he wants heard. So apparently he had actually written to the court like a day before to say that he was no longer interested in the case. He wanted it discontinued and was withdrawing as plaintiff. So Gary Rushton was surprised that he has been changed as counsel without being notified. The court said the procedure was wrong, but the court insisted they could not force the guy to pursue a case that he was no longer interested in. So he was struck out as what they call it, plaintiff in that particular case. Then Guy himself took over the case, then moved on to say that they want the Electoral Commission equally struck out as third defendant, because really what they wanted from the Electoral Commission, they provided in the form of the letter they released early on, indicating Dr. Zaneto Rawlings is not a registered voter. So it was not useful for them to continue being in the case. So all of these were given early on. So what happened is that the lawyers for Dr. Zaneto then said, nice, they are unsure who is the plaintiff and who is the defendant. So what they want done is a clearer explanation of the structure. The court agreed and said, okay, we will actually adjourn to a new date where you bring the suit that has the first page changed. So we know now it's only Ni Amashite who is the plaintiff, and the defendants are first Dr. Zaneto Rawlings and second the NDC. So these two has to be clarified on that particular sheet so that we can continue with the case. So the court then adjourned to next week Friday.
Okay, so in essence, the other two parties to this particular suit have been struck out. That's the Electoral Commission and Ni John Coleman.
Yes, Ni John Coleman was a plaintiff. He is no longer interested in being plaintiff, but the Electoral Commission was a defendant, being third defendant, is also no longer part of the case.
Okay. Raymond, many thanks for that update. And that was Raymond Akwa bringing us updates from the court there. Let's just stay with some issues of law. And pressure group Occupy Ghana has served notice. It will head to court in the coming days if government fails to provide it with names of companies that bid for the Independence Day brochure. Now, the group is also demanding, among others, the public procurement procedure adopted in selecting the winning bid and whether or not the Ministry of Finance has been requested to release funds for payments to the company with the winning bid. Ace Ankoma is a leading member of the group Occupy Ghana.
We just want information. That's all we seek. We want to know, looking at the quality of the documents we had with respect to content, who opened a bid for the printing, publication, or production of these brochures? How many companies bid? Which company won the bid? If we didn't go through open tendering, did we do what they now call sole source, but the law called single source procurement? If we did single source procurement, what reasons did we give for choosing one person? In fact, was the approval of the procurement authority sought and obtained at all? If they did, who signed the contract? What did the contract say? Who is responsible for the content? Was it the printer, publisher, or the person in charge of production? Because we were first told that the ISD had done a mea culpa. We are guilty. Then the ISD workers got up and said, our director is wrong. We have nothing to do with this. In fact, even the letterhead he used is not our letterhead. The director apologizes and is made to fall on his sword. He's dead. He's gone. But that's not the end of it. Who did this to Ghana? We want to find out. And so we are asking for all of this. Have we paid for these brochures? Which documents supported the payment? Can we see them? And so that for now, we are just asking for the information. We want to find out who did this to Ghana.
And if indeed the information is provided and it suggests that there's been some wrongdoing, what would Occupy Ghana do next?
We will ask for a complete refund of every peso that is owed to Ghana from whoever did the wrong thing. If we find out that some people did this to this country, they would have to refund it. If we find out, well, so as they say, look, the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating of it. Let's get the pudding first. Then we'll see how we taste it.
Well, the group has also been commenting on a recent decision by an appeals court to uphold the High Court's ruling to free businessman Alfred Agbeshi Woyome on charges of causing financial loss to the state and defrauding under false pretense.
Completely different kettle of fish. One is a criminal trial. We said that he had defrauded us by false pretenses. The state could not prove the case. The High Court and the Court of Appeal has told us that we could not prove that he had defrauded us by false pretenses. That's something else. The Supreme Court has said whether he defrauded us or not, pay our money back. That's a different matter. So whether he likes it or not, he's going to have to pay the 51 million cedis back. He's lucky. The Supreme Court didn't award any interest against him. So if he invested the money wisely, he's probably made it over and above that. That's fine. He should keep it. But the 51 million, he has to pay it if our Attorney General is interested in for executing that judgment.
I like that last statement. If the Attorney General is interested in executing that judgment. There's been reports that he's requesting a period of 3 years over which to pay back the 51.2 million cedis. What does Occupy Ghana make of this, and what will be your next line of action?
Isn't that pathetic and insulting to the people of this country? That the Supreme Court determines that monies have been wrongfully paid to somebody. Gave the judgment, 3 years ago? No, literally, virtually no effort is made to enforce it. And why do I say that? Remember what the president said on 12th January? That it was when they were preparing the 5A that some other rates, which the court threw out in an almost insulting manner. It was when they were preparing the 5A. Now the rate of 5A for all of us is a piece of paper which says that the court has given judgment against you haven't paid me, so court, go and seize the man's items and sell them. Now, no judgment is self-executing. When the court gives you a judgment, that paper doesn't walk into the man's room to collect your money from you. If the person who you have the judgment against does not pay the money, you employ the machinery of the court to execute the judgment against the person. It appears to us that it was only in January this year that we're doing the most basic and fundamental step of filling out a piece of paper called a 5A to serve to trigger the machinery process, and then he managed to stop it, but through some the person out filing an action in court. Thankfully, the Supreme Court threw that away. He went back with more temerity, impudence, audacity to ask for 3 years. The Supreme Court warned him and threw him out. Look, Insha, people of Ghana, we need to start asking the Attorney General some questions. What have you done, and when did you do it? What have you done, and when did you do it? When did you file the entry of judgment? When did you file 5As? Have you started garnishing proceedings? On which days did you file them? We need to ask questions of the officials who are paid from our kitty to do the work. And so we are waiting to see. But journalists, people, fourth estate of the realm, begin to ask the critical questions. Where are we with the enforcement of the judgment? He may not have committed a crime, but he has to pay our money back. Where is our money?
And that was a leading member of pressure group Occupy Ghana, Ace Anan Ankoma. You're still watching News Today here on your Joy News channel on Multi TV. We're taking a break. We'll return shortly with some more stories. Don't go away. Many thanks for staying with us here on News Today. Let's bring you a lot more stories now. And the Electricity Company of Ghana says it cannot be blamed for the situation at Mapi Agbaji Copper in the Volta region, where 5 years after government extended electricity to the area, residents continue to live in darkness. Now, the company says the self-help electrification project under which the electricity was extended to the community is a power ministry initiative. As such, it remains the responsibility of the ministry to supply residents of the community with electricity meters. Now, though the residents made commitment fee payments to the ECG for the meters in 2010, they are yet to be installed. They complain the situation is hampering the provision of quality education and security in the community. Volta Regional PRO of the ECG, Fred Bambil Johnson, tells Joy News the company will engage the community to pay new fees for ECG meters to be supplied to them.
Was under the self-help electrification project. Now, this is a project that's implemented by the ministry. Then it was the Ministry of Energy, but now the Ministry of Power. And it's a project that seeks to extend electricity access to very poor communities. Now, what's the role of ECG within this project is more of a facilitation role. We do a list, or we put together a list. What happens is after the list is ready, we send it to the ministry. Then the ministry has an appointed contractor who does the stringing of the lines, and then based on the list sent to the ministry, the meters are released through us to the contractor to fix in these communities. So we are not the ones who provide the meters, in these what you call SHEP projects. What happened here is that I don't specifically know why the meters were not released, but it got to our attention in 2013 when the communities complained that they hadn't received their meters. So what we did was to send reminders to the ministry. We've actually sent about 2 or 3 reminders since 2013 and haven't gotten a response. However, because of we realized the problem that this situation is causing on the potential customers, management has taken a decision on what to do. So there are 2 ways here. Either we create a leeway so we can have them get onto our system to enjoy electricity in their homes, or we would have to still wait for when the ministry can provide the meters. So we are scheduling a meeting with the community to explain to them what the situation is, and then to make our proposals to them such that if they could pay the 50 Ghana cedis that facility that we are making available to them, then we could supply the meters to the individual facility.
Let's stay in the Volta region, and the chiefs and elders of North Tongue have dissociated themselves from statements by an NDC youth group calling for the removal from office of the District Chief Executive Fafa Delsia Agbai for abuse of power and disrespecting chiefs and elders of the land. Now, the group this week embarked on a demonstration calling on the president to sack the DCE. Joining me on phone now with more on this is correspondent Ivy Setoji. So, Ivy, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Now, what have the chiefs and elders of North Tongue been saying? Right. Okay, so we seem to have lost Ivy Setoji on the line there. Once we have her, we'll go back to that particular story. Away from that, and teacher trainees are charging government to address challenges they face in their field of study. That high school fees, utility bills, and lack of furniture are a few of the many teacher trainee challenges in the country. Interacting with government officials during the Campus Connect program at the Accra College of Education, the dissatisfied students say they fear they might face similar challenges such as the ones the current crop of teachers are facing.
Campus Connect is a platform tertiary students engage government officials on issues that affect them and suggest ways of dealing with them. It provides a rare opportunity for government officials to get instant feedback on policy-related issues as well. Teacher trainees of the Accra College of Education took their turn at Thursday's forum. Addressing the trainee teachers, Deputy Minister of Education in charge of tertiary education, Samuel Okujeto-Blakwa, pleaded with the students to bear with government as it is doing all it takes to ensure they enjoy their stay on campus.
Already at the national level, we have a working group which is looking at utilities generally in all our institutions and what should be the new arrangement. What section of campus should be absorbed by students, what section should be absorbed by government. So the working group is working to come up with a blueprint, and that is what will inform us. I think that the student loans arrangement works. It is working very well. All over the world, the United Kingdom has just cancelled allowances for nurses and for teacher trainees just a few weeks ago. So the point is that you have to make a decision looking at the big picture. Do you want to keep majority of students outside, close the doors to them, or you want to bring them in and then provide an alternative, the student loan trust, that can take care of the students, especially vulnerable groups? I think that the most responsible thing in the interest of quality education is what the government did. And we will continue to appeal to you to support us.
But some of the students were unhappy with the address by the Deputy Minister. They shared their frustrations with the news team.
With the issue of classrooms and where we study, it's very challenging because the number of students in the college is more than the classrooms that we have, and that has caused them to overstaff us in classrooms. So some people will decide that they will not come for lectures or some particular lessons, but rather come when the class is very good for them to sit.
Last semester, for instance, before we wrote our exams, the principal asked us to pay our fees, but people had to go out and work before they come and pay their fees. They have their own personal works they do to earn a living. So because of that, they don't have that privilege. So that day, the examination hall, they were asked to go out because they haven't paid their fees. Because the fees was too high. We were paying 1,005 and then 30 Ghana was added to the fees. You understand? So students had to go out and fetch for money before they come inside. And when they came, the exams was done. So they are now going to reset the paper again.
This is not the first time students have been outraged at a Campus Connect meeting.
Let's return to that very story from the Volta region, where the chiefs and people of North Tongue have dissociated. The chiefs and elders of North Tongue have dissociated themselves from statements by an NDC youth group calling for the removal from office the district chief executive for the area, Fafa Delcia Agbai, for abuse of power and disrespecting chiefs and elders of the land. Now, the group this week embarked on a demonstration calling on the president to sack the DC. Joining me on phone now with a lot more on this is correspondent Ivy Setoji, who is now on the line, I believe. Ivy, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm asking, what have the chiefs and elders of North Tongue been saying? Okay. Well, we seem to be having quite a number of challenges with our phone lines there. We'll still work on it. Once we have Ivy Setoji, we'll bring that story to you. But time now for us to take a break here on News Today. When we come back, John Omwako joins us with business.
And it's now time for business. And the power crisis the country went through last year is among the reasons businesses could not pay loans acquired from banks. That's the opinion of banking analyst Nana Oto Achampong, who was sharing his thoughts on increase in banks' non-performing loans and negative growth last year. According to latest Bank of Ghana report, growth in the banking industry recorded a negative growth in 2015, signaling a difficult financial year. The situation has compelled commercial banks to go in for government treasury bills at the expense of helping the private sector. Nana Oto Achampong spoke on the marketplace.
Negative growth is not good for the economy in the banking sector because banks are pivotal in every country's economy. Now, the attributes of the negative growth are not only because of non-performing loans, but cost overrun.
Yes.
In that last year, the power crisis caused a lot of banks, almost all the banks actually, to increase their cost beyond budget, in that they had to run on generators and so on. So those were not anticipated, and they added to the cost. Okay. So add to that will be the non-performing loans that are coming about because borrowers had their businesses collapsing, and so not that they didn't want to pay, but they couldn't pay.
Exactly.
So moving in the direction into treasury bills, one would say that is what you would expect any rational investor to do. It's better to play safe than risk. So they move into treasury bills. But what it means is it is going to affect the economy negatively because businesses will not have the required funds they need to grow. And so monies will also not be coming into the banks because if businesses are not growing, then they are not getting access to the inflows that they require. So at the end of the day, everybody will become a loser.
Exactly.
We wish that the banks will diversify a little bit and not put all their eggs or the majority of their eggs in the treasury bills basket, but rather look at the private sector as well and see if there are any innovative products that they can come up with to help the private sector.
And in another development, Standard Chartered Bank says it will only embark on extending aggressive loans to businesses if it sees an improvement in the economy. The bank last year had to pull the brakes on set credit extensions because the inability of some businesses to pay back loans they contracted. The managing director of Standard Chartered Bank, Kweku Beduado, spoke to Joy Business after briefing on the bank's 2015 financial standings.
Every bank or institution has its own risk model. Okay, or what we call portfolio standards or underwriting standards. So you lend according to those portfolio standards. Okay, and within those portfolio standards, there would be certain key indicators you look at. Okay, and we are always guided by that. We've always been guided by that, and that's what would continue. What I'm saying is that I think if the environment, the operating environment is not very stable or is hostile, you would be careful and more cautious in aggressively growing assets or lending money. We owe it to our depositors, we owe it to our shareholders to manage the bank with prudence. If the market conditions are improving, we will see interest rates start to drop. We'll see the currency stable. We'll see business confidence on the rise. We will see investment on the rise. It will translate into jobs, and it will all filter through to the financial sector, and you will see that asset growth will start to move in a certain direction.
Kweku Beduado of Standard Chartered Bank, and that brings the end of business here. My name is John Kojo Amwaku, but for more, you can join me on the marketplace exactly 1 to 1:30.
A very good afternoon to you wherever you are still here on News Today. My name is Benedict Osu. Let's talk some sports, and we are heading into a weekend where we'll witness lots of matches in the Ghana Premier League. And here in Accra Hearts of Oak will take on Bichim United, while Hearts will be hoping to maintain their unbeaten form. Remember, they've played 3 matches and they've not lost a game. Their first 2 games they won and drew their last game with the Busuan Dwarfs at the Robert Mensah Sports Stadium. Well, Coach Kenichi Yasuashi has been speaking ahead of the game against Bichim at the Accra Stadium this Sunday.
I think we have to raise the level of our team because we won so far 3 matches, and we are preparing. So we are trying to do a better match than 3 matches. It's still beginning of a season, so they can be different team between the 3rd game and the 4th game. So we studied, but we have to see how they come up.
Will your fans be smiling on Sunday at the end of the game?
That's what we're trying to do. We try to win the game, and it's a home game. So we try to make our supporters happy.
So that was Accra Hearts of Oak coach Kenichi Yasuashi. Also, Kumasi Asante Kotoko will be away to the Bekum Golden City Park where they will play Bekum Chelsea. Asante Kotoko have not won a game in this season's league. Their first game against Wafa at the Sogakope Park, they lost by 2-0 and drew their second game, which was supposed to be their match day 2 game with Midday at the Babara Stadium 2-2. They are also drawing their last game with Ashanti Gold at the same venue, goalless. Well, going into that game, they will be hoping to get their first win, and Coach David Duncan believes his side can live up to that billing.
In recent times, it's not the news that I think that in the last couple of games, we seem to have had a healthy agenda. I think we also knew what was at stake, especially considering the fact that if we had won with us, we were one of the person in the side with them. So I think they also gave it their all. And you can see that they were more satisfied with the 1 point, that we end here in the final.
So that was Kumasi Asante Kotoko coach David Duncan talking ahead of their game with Bekum Chelsea this very Sunday. So to check the matches that will be played this very weekend in the Ghana Premier League, so you have it. Indiana Stars will be at home at the Doma Park where they will play host to Wafa. Remember, Indiana Stars are searching for their first victory in this season's league. Bekum Chelsea will also be at home to Kumasi Asante Kotoko. You already heard David Duncan, his interview ahead of that game. And also Dreams FC, top of the table clash. Dreams FC Wa All Stars will be at Daewoo. That match will be played tomorrow at the Daewoo Park. Kazakes Ash Gold at the Sekendi Esipon Stadium. There's Accra Hartsfield Bichim United, which will be played at the Accra Stadium. At the Dansoman Karindorf Park, Liberty Professionals will take on Tichiman City. Mediama SC Ebusondorf's game postponed to a later date. Mediama are in Africa, and also Dubiase will take on Interallies. So quickly we can check the standings to see where the teams are. So quickly, okay, so while All Stars are leading the Premier League table, they have 7 points. Accra Hartsfield second, 7 points. Dreams FC are third with 7 points. They have the same points, but goal difference separating them there. And also, if you check in that order, fourth is Wafa, Bichim United, Tichiman City, Ash Gold, all in that order there. So we can check the last bits there. Ninth position is Bekum Chelsea. Liberty Professionals are 10th. Dubiase, they are 11th with 3 points, and also Azakes 12th with 3 points. The last three is Ebusondorf's, Mediama SC, Indiana Stars, Kumasi Asante Kotoko. They find themselves 13th position on the league table with just a point. Mediama SC will not be in action this weekend in the Ghana Premier League by virtue of their engagement in Africa. They are in Tunisia to face Al Ittihad Tripoli in the CAF Confederation Cup game. Now, much talk in the build-up to the game has been about the seeming unrest between the Swedish head coach Tom Strand and technical director Ivan Sadote. But for Strand, he's focused on the game as they seek to cause a major upset in Africa.
We train. We make ourselves ready for the match. We try to be get the shape intact with. We try to get our rhythm intact. We try to analyze ourselves and the opponents and try to be as good as we can be on the match day. Yeah, that we can come home with a good result and that we can go as far as we can in the tournament. We don't want to fail in the beginning. We want to stay as long as possible and to be able to stay to the money zone or to give the big teams some really good pressure.
So that was Mediama SC coach Tom Strand. Well, let's do some more here. And former Liverpool legend John Barnes is amazed at why no African team has won the World Cup. Now, the former English player who won 2 EPL titles and 2 FA Cup, with his side Liverpool, was on a Super Morning Show on Joy FM this morning. According to John Barnes, African players who ply their trades with various foreign clubs are at par with players of countries who have won the World Cup in recent years.
When we talk about an African team in the World Cup, and Ghana, I think, played very well in 2010. They showed the right spirit and determination and desire and togetherness, showing that they didn't necessarily have the best individual players, because Ivory Coast had better players, but Ghana did better because of that spirit. When Pele said that he could see an African team winning the World Cup in the next 20 years, he said that probably 20 years ago. It was because he saw somebody like him, who's the greatest player in the world ever, with what he has physically. And now, if you look at the African teams physically, tactically, and technically, they are equal to any team in the world. What he didn't take into consideration is the mentality necessary. They never said the attitude of togetherness, which is where the African teams, and I'm coaching Jamaica, is exactly the same thing. That's where we need to improve. And what I always say is that if you all remember when Liverpool came back in 2005 against AC Milan, we were 3-0 down against a better team with better players. How could we do that? Not because we're better, but because we had that togetherness, that belief, that harmony. And I always said, could we see an African team being 3-0 down against superior opposition and coming back? Now, that is the mentality necessary that the African teams need, because physically, technically, and tactically, they are equal to any team in the world. And that's what we have to concentrate on.
So that was Liverpool legend John Barnes there. That's it for sports. My name is Benedict Owusu. For more sports, just join us on Sports Today at 2. Have a good afternoon.
So that's how we wrap up on News Today this afternoon here on Joy News. Remember, there's a lot more news when you log on to www.myjoyonline.com. John Omakon is standing by with the marketplace. My name is Kwabena Chenche Hineboati. Many thanks for your company.